Today we're going to start with talking with Dr. Robert Duff, or Duff the Psych, as he's known online.
He describes himself as having the specialty of taking complex psychological issues and breaking them down into plain language. That's why we called him and why we asked him to explain for us the difference between, again, what I always call big D and little d depression.
So depression is frustrating in some ways in terms of the word, because it is a word in common language. You can feel depressed without being depressed, right? Without being clinically depressed. Depression is a feeling that everybody has of being sad, of feeling like the wind's taken out of your sails, maybe being lethargic, things like that. But with clinical depression, it's a pattern of those feelings. So the real difference is that practical impact and the fact that it's an extended period of time. And for many people, it's also recurring. It looks a bit different for, each person.
But it's not affecting us more because we're weak or overly sensitive or unable to handle life as well as other people. It's because there's an actual mental illness in play here, right?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons that medication and, other more physiological interventions work, is because there actually is a difference that happens in the brain when someone's depressed. And, there's a little bit of chicken and egg going on of, is the brain different and that's what makes you depressed, or is your brain different because you're depressed? But either way, there is a difference. And that's why when you're depressed, it can feel like such an uphill battle. And no, it's not because you're weak.
And when you realize that this is like a battle you're having with your own brain, I think, what would know our weaknesses or our buttons better than our own minds? I like the way Dr. Duff describes it.
I like to think of depression kind of as a parasite, because it does all of the things to you that it needs to keep itself strong. It saps your energy. So it makes you feel more lethargic, which makes you not do things, which makes you feel more guilty, which makes you feel more depressed. And so it goes in a cycle and it builds itself up and up and up. So it's really, it can be something that's really hard to deal with without some sort of outside intervention, or without something to just really get you on the path of trying to make a difference for yourself. It makes us come to this quote unquote realization that, this whole time I thought I was actually an okay person, but I'm not, which is totally backwards from, often the reality and often where you would want to be. But it plays that trick on you. It plays a lot of tricks on you.
Next, we're going to speak with Dr. Margaret Rutherford, who's also a psychologist and has a private practice in Arkansas. We asked her, where's the line?
The difference is, one, there's usually a specific trigger that we can recognize. Two, it ends. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Depression does not. You wake up with it, you're eating lunch with it, and you go to bed with it. It does not remit. Depression can look a lot of ways. It can look like agitation and anger. It can look like melancholy. It can look like the guy in the commercial that doesn't want to walk the dog who's sitting on the bathroom floor. You can be perfectly hidden depression and you don't look like that at all.
In one of Dr. Margaret's blogs, she said that people with depression, it's almost like you forget how to be happy, that it's not a choice.
So true. It's so true. It's like my brain goes into that place and it can't get out. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be irritable. No. I'm not trying to not be grateful and notice all the beauty and amazing blessings of my life. I can't.
That's what she says. She says your brain literally will not allow you to think of a future with promise or hope.
Ugh, it's so true.
It's as if you can't focus on whatever you had in your life that you enjoyed. You no longer enjoy it. And that's not a choice. That's the reality of how you feel. Frequently, there is a genetic predisposition for depression, just like you may have a predisposition for diabetes or a predisposition for cancer. You can have a predisposition for depression.
So then the third expert we called in to talk about this with us is Dr. Maduka Trivedi, and he is the head of the Center for Depression Research and Clinical Care at UT Southwestern Medical Center.
So I think in general, the way I explain to lay people is the following. All of us can have ups and downs in life, and when you have a down period, you do feel down, but there are two easy signals that we tell you. One is, even when you are feeling down, if there is some positive thing happening in your life or some positive event occurring or somebody, a loved one calls you, you temporarily or even sometimes immediately get out of that funk and start sort of communicating like you were before. If you have a small d, the sort of bad day. If you have depression, it is very hard to do that because your ruminative, negative thoughts just overtake no matter what the environment is. And the second thing is that when somebody has a depressive illness, depression syndrome, is like a cloud hanging over your head, taking over everything you think and feel and do.
Is depression real?
Nobody should question that whether this is real or not. This is a brain disease and the signs and symptoms are clear, and the difference between somebody who is in the middle of depression and when they are better, thankfully, with the right treatment, that difference is night and day.